So I've been using this Pixel 7 Pro for the last few months, and I decided maybe it's time to move on and try something new, something different, something iPhone Air. My last iPhone was a 15 Pro Max, and I really loved that phone. I really did. It was honestly amazing. And I said, I want a little bit more of that flavor. And you know, the iPhone Air is pretty unique, so why not try it out? It does cost $999, basically $1,000, but Apple's got a really good return policy. So I figured I'd just try it out. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't, straight back to the store. So here's how I feel about it. So first things first, let's just get this out the way. The design of this phone is absolutely amazing, and it is quite thin. It is genuinely a really good example and demonstration of the feats of engineering that Apple was able to pull off making this phone. Sure, there's the S25 Edge, but nobody cares about that, so we're not going to talk about it. So what makes this phone really cool is that this bump that you can see here actually houses most of the internals, and most of this part of the phone houses only the battery. That being said, more on that battery life a little bit later in the video. Let's just be honest. The thinness of the phone, it is a gimmick. Sure, it looks amazing, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything, especially when you slap one of these on. Once you put a case onto this phone, you don't get that thin feel in your hand. Sure, it does feel thinner than the average phone, but it feels average enough though. That's the problem. Once you put a case on this, which you will, I mean, what was the point of the thinness if I bought it for that? And yeah, it is lighter than most other phones, but... and why? Who cares? Like, my normal phones aren't really that heavy. I've never went, this phone's too heavy, I don't want to hold it. So what problems is this solving? And if anything, we're kind of going backwards on some of the biggest problems we have with phones, which is the battery. We want bigger batteries. Instead, we're shoving smaller batteries into smaller phones and saying, yeah, but look at that thinness though. Where are we going with this? However, one of my favorite parts about this phone is definitely the new camera upgrades. The resolution has been increased and just looks amazing, which allows me to kind of get more shots, put them in videos without people saying, use a front camera for this, didn't you? We all know that dreaded front camera look. This gets us a little bit closer to not having that feeling. I'm a big fan of the new sensor because that means that we can now shoot horizontally while still holding the phone like this in portrait. And that is a game changer. Now, despite this being a 48 megapixel camera, it is not the same 48 megapixel camera from the Pro phones, which means you do get worse photos and much worse videos. What I can tell you though, is I am able to get better photos out of this than a 15 or a 16. I believe that's all on the software side though. However, when it came to video, I got much better video out of the 15 Pro Max every single time, which makes it kind of a no-brainer for me. Why would I get this over an older Pro phone for less money? Now, the battery life on this phone is something I dreaded when I seen this phone get announced. Because I already knew that Apple wanted no part in that new battery technology, the whole carbon, silicon carbon, whatever it's called. It's just too early in the life cycle for Apple to take that risk. You know how they be, right? If Android gets it today, iPhone ain't getting it until the next like 10, 15 years or so. You know how it goes. So that means that we knew they were going to shrink the battery like hell in this phone. And that they did. Talking about an almost 40% decrease in battery size when compared to the Pro Max model. This phone basically lives on a charger for me every single day. Every single day since I've had this phone, it's lived on a charger. Like, every time I look at the battery, it's on something stupid. 16%. Low battery mode. You just can't win. No matter how much I charge this, it just isn't able to give me the life out of the battery that I need for my life. And don't get me twisted, I'm not saying the battery life is horrible. It is not, but it's not great. And when I had my 15 Pro Max, that phone was just magical. It was like it was almost impossible to kill that battery. On a full day of recording videos, even editing some of the videos on the phone, doing audio, doing all the calls, watching stuff, YouTube, 5G constantly, you could still get to the end of the day with a little bit of battery left on the 15 Pro Max. On this phone, I start shooting something, I can bet my ass this phone's gonna be dead in about 2 hours. So that brings me to my next point. For $200 more than the base model, what am I getting extra? And for 100 less than the Pro model, how am I getting better value? With this sort of price range, what's the point? And see, the thing is, I bought this phone directly from Apple for $999 because of the returns policy. But this phone is not being sold for anywhere near $999 everywhere else because no one's buying it. Because one, most people don't even know it exists. And two, the people who do know it exists either really like it or they think it's really stupid. And unfortunately, there is a big swing in the amount of people who think it's really stupid. And I think I'm slowly becoming one of those people who thinks it's stupid. Okay, so what do we have? We have a really thin design, worse battery, we have one camera, and not to mention one speaker, not two. There's no speakers down here like every other freaking iPhone, just one up here. That sounds like ass, by the way, and you can barely hear it when you're walking out on the road with traffic. You just can't. It's pretty cheeks. For $1,000, what do we have? Well, I'll tell you. We have a waste of money. Plain and simple, I'm sorry. It's just a waste of money. This doesn't solve any particular problem. Not that it needs to solve a problem. We can just make things that are cool, but stupid. It's freaking stupid, okay? Either get the iPhone 17 or get the 17 Pro. And if you don't want to spend that much money and you want a better phone than the 17, then get the 15 or the 16 Pro. Like, why are we doing this? This is stupid. And sure, some of you guys might be in the comments talking about, hey man, they're just practicing for their foldable phones. That's good. They can practice for their foldable phones. I'm not going to practice my money on it though. See, Apple is a $1 trillion company, and I am a 100-pound man, as in my net worth is 100 pounds after buying this phone. So no, I'm not going to play with my money on experimenting and beta testing their foldable half-baked product. Not a chance. And I don't think this is a question about whether the phone is good or bad. It's more so, does it make sense or not? And in my opinion, it doesn't. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you guys want more reviews and more videos. Goodbye. It looks like I'm holding like a pencil, but what if I told you it was a phone? The iPhone Air. Yes, it is literally that thin. Nobody's trying to buy the iPhone Air, and I want to know why, so I bought it. It was not cheap. Anyways, you get a charging cable with it? No stickers. They never do stickers with Apple products anymore. There is the phone. It is extremely thin. Like, look at this. Like, extremely thin. That means there's less battery in here. Like, the battery would be physically smaller. So am I paying more money for, like, worse battery life? Ooh. Look at that. There is the design. You only get one camera on this phone. Deal breaker for some probably won't care. And one speaker. There's only one speaker in this phone. I gotta tell you guys, the design, the engineering of this joint is absolutely insane.